Welcome everybody to the dedication of the Lamson Cashion Donner Summit Hub. We have a couple of celebrities in the audience here. First celebrity is Richard Anderson, sitting in the back. Richard Anderson was our Nevada County supervisor up here, and when we started years ago on the process of trying to rejuvenate the economy on Donner Summit, Richard was the very first politician who started to pay any attention to us. And for that, we're eternally grateful, and look at how far we've come so far. We also have in the audience Pat Malberg, who is our Donner Summit Association president. Pat's around the corner someplace. You get to see her in a bit. We have some board members here too. Mark Himmelstein is on our board. Dick Simpson, raise your hand, Dick, is on our board. Mark, raise your hand. Now I'm having a brain freeze. Oh, Tom Densler is here. He's our treasurer. There's another one. Beth Tanhoff is around the corner. And I think I got them all, right? No? Chris Parker is MVP. Where's Chris?
I'm back here.
We'll get to Chris later on here. You've all seen the cake, right?
Yeah.
And you've all seen the little spikes with the tags on them. Those are designer special for this event only. You should be impressed with those. Nobody else in the world has those. And when people question you about them, they're the same spikes we use to put down these rails here. Now onto the serious stuff. No, I can't do it without the right glasses on. Yes. The other part is, I can't remember anymore, so I've really got to read this. You heard that, right? Okay. So the air has a fresh crispness about it that gives new life to the visitor, whether he has come from the fertile plains or the foggy city. And no wonder, there are 7,000 feet between you and sea level, 7,000 feet nearer heaven and much nearer purity. It is a relief to look up to the stars, nowhere brighter than here, with only the dark pines closing in the distance. The air redolent with the perfume of fresh grass and wildflowers, and aromatic with pine needles. It's a physical pleasure to breathe, a delight to exist. It is a small wonder that a millionaire, Mark Hopkins, should confess to be happier and healthier here than in the handsomest house on California Street. Nob Hill to the Sierras indeed. California Spirit of the Times magazine, June 1885. Everyone of good taste and discernment knows that Donner Summit is worth celebrating, and that's why we're here today. First, Donner Summit is the most historically significant square mile in California and maybe the entire western United States. But that's not all Donner Summit has to offer. It's world-class recreation opportunities, majestic scenery, biological diversity. 500 species of plants are on Donner Summit, 115 species of butterflies, 100 plus species of birds, and dozens of species of mammals and amphibians. This Lamson Cashion Donner Summit Hub is a unique addition to Donner Summit and touts all of that. It celebrates the wonders of Donner Summit with a dozen exhibits about all of those things. It also solves a continual problem. More people are coming to Donner Summit for adventures, but they don't know where to go or how to access their adventures. So this becomes kind of an information center. The Lamson Cashion Donner Summit Hub becomes a trailhead of trailheads, a place to get information, a place to embark on adventures, a place to debrief afterwards. Just look at this fine cement slab that we've got here. You can imagine famous local hike leaders standing here and telling people about the wonders of Donner Summit. And that brings up another aspect of Donner Summit. This hub was built with 2 grants from Placer County. But the facility sits in Nevada County. The work was done with hundreds of hours of volunteer labor. The tasks are too many to relate to you here because you fall asleep, but there are a few that we could bring up. John Eisgren did the concrete work at a reduced price. Mount Lincoln Construction repaired the trusses in the building there for free. Ron Gregg Rocks in Soda Springs did the boulders that you see here for out in front of the seating at a discount. Hanson Brothers brought in many truckloads of road base and decomposed granite, and they discounted it. Gibbs Roofing redid all the siding on the back and did a lot of the siding on the building, and he gave us a discount. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Chris Gibbs is sitting in the audience here somewhere. Raise your hand. Great, thank you. Okay, moving along. JK Architecture designed various aspects for free or at reduced price. Norm Saylor was in here for hours with his backhoe. Roger Drost built the carriages for these carts here for just the cost of the parts. Where's Roger? There he is over there. George Lamson did the exhibit layouts. Every one of these 12 exhibits was done by George, and he supplied all of the contemporary photography for free. And then there's Pat Malberg, who was up here butting into my business. President of DSA. She's been out here sometimes daily. Most recently setting up this party, which is done by the Malberg Family Events Group. Beyond that, she handles a paintbrush, shovel, rake, drill, anything that's needed. And when others were too chicken to go in the cherry picker to go up and work on the roof, she was one of the first to push her way into the basket. Dan Goddard Construction built the kiosks. Schaefer Paving did the paving in front and the paving for the path back there. The Donner Summit Historical Society provided two 20-mile museum signs here. Truckee Donner Land Trust installed the 12 exhibits for us. Sierra Lakes County Water District loaned us for free a giant compactor that we drove around here to make the final grade. And then there's Sugar Bowl. They leased this land from the railroad, and so they had to give us permission. But then they lent us Chris Parker, who you already saw is back there, from the very start. And he's been critical to getting as far as we've gotten. He has a wealth of experience, but he also has a lot of ideas, and he can run tractors and shovels too. And then there's a host of community members who came out when we called for volunteers. Spreading fill dirt, spreading decomposed granite, carrying these rails which weigh about 500 pounds each, spiking the rails to the ties, painting the shed, removing graffiti, drilling holes for the coming plaques, fixing the sliding door, removing old conduit, clearing the inside of the shed, installing the bike rack and the bike repair station over there, installing the exhibit box and the plaques on the front of the shed, installing the brochure racks, keeping them filled, installing or re-roofing this, or re-screwing the roofing on the roof, covering the shed windows, pulling off the old siding, installing shear panels and putting on new siding, drainage, planning, measuring, staking. And it was all done by volunteer labor to make Donner Summit just a little bit better. But we're not done, because there's still plaques in production to go on the front. There's still plaques that need to go into production. We need to do some work with that mound there. It's going to be a base for very needed porta potties. And so now that you're all here, guess what? When this is done, what? We need what?
He wants to know if
Did you
brought
bring some shovels?
What? We also need to make an enclosure that'll go around the porta potties. We're working on a shade structure here. That'll make this a lot better. And we need to add signage so people can get to the trails. But then there's another category of community help. And that's the donors who have helped us get past what the county gave us and are helping with the maintenance for the future. George Lamson and Linda Cashin contributed for the whole site. Where's George? Here. And Linda should be standing next to you, but she's not. Where's Linda? This is very impressive. They jumped in at the very beginning before we had any other donors and enabled this. Wrong line. Lake Mary neighborhood. Who's from Lake Mary here? Raise your hands. They supported the kiosk over here, and they've got a plaque on there for that. The benches here are supported, these movable benches are supported by the Fisco, Raymond, Jester, and Lekander families. Raise your hands. Some of them are here. The Child's family and friends supported the bike repair station. Are they here? Yes. Serene Lakes Realty supported the bike rack. Krista's not here. The builders or the boulders for the front are supported by Tahoe Truckee Realty, the Gensler family, Ed and Kathy Bubness, Gateway Mountain Center, Beth Danoff, Cliff and Sue Busby. You could raise your hands if you're here, and some of you are. And we should mention that that kiosk is not supported yet. Feel free to stop with Beth on your way out and do all the supporting that you would like. And may I say that we are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization. And then there's one last thing. In your hand, you're holding that official souvenir I talked about before. Save it for a generation or two. It may become valuable, like the Donner Memorial goodies they gave out 100 years ago. Here, too, we can thank volunteers. Nancy Odegeist and Kathy Budness tied all those things together. And then a little editorializing, because if I'm standing up here, I get to do that. The Lamson Cache and Donner Summit Hub is a unique, you're not going to see anything like this anywhere else, based both on all of the volunteer labor, also the design. You know, this is supposed to harken back to the railroad that crossed Donner Summit and made such a big difference to California. 88 feet down is the longest tunnel, and this is all supposed to go together. Walk over to the central shaft when you're done. And then there was the local government support in this that is very unusual too. Now compare that to what we've done here and to what they do in Washington. So what we're going to do next is a little bit symbolic ribbon cutting. An opportunity to use the open mic here if you'd like to say anything. And then most important, of course, the cutting of the cake and the bubbly. While some of you are waiting for the cake to be cut, you can imagine that 100 slices will take a while. May I mention that behind the Summit House over there, there is a trail. It isn't very long, and it goes to a knoll. You remember a little while ago I mentioned Donner Summit is the most historically significant square mile in California. You all nod and say, yes, I remember. Yeah. If you take that short little walk, you will have a magnificent view. But you will also be at the most inspirational square yard within the most historically significant square mile in California. And you will be inspired. And then I have one more little quote. To me, Donner Summit is the utopia of the West. Bud Zorich, who ran the ski shop, which is where the Historical Society is now, said that in December of 1950. And you can imagine that people still, or think that people still do that. So first of all now, we need, George disappeared, we need you, the scissors, and we need Linda. We're going to have a ceremonial cutting of the ribbon here. What? I mean, I paid enough money, I think I can. Linda and I, of course, are really proud to have our name on this. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about a friend of mine. I met this friend many more years than I like to think about now, here at Donner Summit. One of the first things this friend and I talked about was some kind of nexus, some kind of visitor center, nature center, information center, something like that. This was years ago. And over those years, we had all kinds of little schemes. We were going to buy a building and build a visitor center. We were going to put a nature center in. We were going to put a kiosk up. All those things sort of came to naught. So when my friend came to me about 2 years ago with a plan for this project, I immediately was all in. And so I think Bill has pretty much outlined all of the community effort that's gone into this. And it's a testament to the community at Donner Summit. But I think everybody here can agree that there is one person whose inspiration, dedication, perspiration really made this possible. And that's my friend, Bill Odegeist. Let's remember the community effort part of that. This couldn't have been done without literally hundreds of hours of community work, physical and mental work. So let's cut the ribbon, huh?
As you all know, this has been a long time coming. So I think it deserves a good toast to George, Linda, all the folks. How many of you were volunteers on this project? Come on, raise your hand. Look, come on, everybody was. Oh, yeah. So thank you so much, everybody, and this is just a glorious day. And it didn't rain. George is going to cut the
George and Linda.
Yes.
Put your finger on it. I officially open this, the Lamson Cash and Donner Summit Hub.